Okay, I skimmed over. I have to go back to talking about the H1N1 flu test because all of the people that were diagnosed with COVID were diagnosed because they didn't have, so they showed up as a negative. So a false positive is actually a real positive for COVID. If you had a false positive, like you have a negative, false positive equals negative. And so stop explaining it because I think you understand already. But if you were negative for H1N1, it meant that you had COVID. So that's how they were diagnosing people. This is called statistic shopping for stats. That's why the ancient Egyptians tried to escape science with their stat. That's why it's like you need a word stat that you can have to pull aside a candy stripe or tell I need 50 cc's and it's urgency. It's like I need to pull you aside and have a word like stat. Yo, stat, this is a very important issue. It requires 50 cc's of your stats. When are you going to try and resolve this issue? Dog, you are already, that's what, you know what I'm saying? Like, you already altered the unified field coming into existence, looking for the true version of compassion so you can retire this whole shit, getting splooged out on to the unified field. You're getting cummed out back into kumbaya. His, me lord, kumbaya, me lord, and again, talking about the man oppressing and everything like that, coming back full circle like a revolution. You know, it comes back to the same point. It comes back to the same spot, like how you get the geometry. I'm not even coming up with this stuff. Somebody explained this already to me, so I'm cheating because I can make a YouTube video acting like I'm that guy. But you know, I'm gonna do that a lot too, by the way, because basically this stuff is dense spiritual particle. You know how they're looking for the God particle or something? Well, you already know where the God particle is. It's in the West Wing, the Oval Office in the West Wing. You know, all the presidents messed around in the Oval Office. And they're always surrounded by lawyers and everything. But that's working better than it works in Europe, because there are a bunch of weird gypsies and quasi-commie countries with neo-Nazis. They need to get their bars up with reggae or something like this. I don't know what it's going to require. But going in and interfering with a fraternal crisis seems whack as fuck. Anybody else know? Is it just me? Is it just me that it seems whack as fuck and everybody is looking for plausible deniability so they can say, yo, obviously, like, we're not the ones causing the reason why you have no choice, why you gotta go and vote for evil or something like this. No, you don't vote for evil. Vote for the most of two evils. If there's a lesser of two evils, vote for the one that's the most evil. Why don't they like him? You know what I'm saying? Oh, God. And for us, all that other stuff aside, fucking, you don't want to get some silly religion. They're going to try to quantify Christhood or the Christ energy or the Christ conscious or all these, the Christ figure or the Christ child or all this Christ stuff as being religious. How the fuck is it religious? You fall out of, you fell out of order with the mundane, or you lost the meaning of sacrifice, or I don't know. The pagans say that you fell out of order with the mundane. The Christians will say that, you know, God likes what you like. What's good enough for you is good enough for God. He's going to meet you halfway, you know what I mean? And you can't sacrifice something that you don't care to lose. It's not really a sacrifice if I have 100 of them and I just give away one of them, and I still got 99. And that's kind of like what the mainstream media is trying to perplexed, get you to take a dime for a dollar. You know what I mean? And then they're saying that we demand, like, we like more action. You can't slide by. We would like to see a little bit more from you. Well, like, we know you can do more. We like more. We like, you know, we're the ones that, and it's not like we got a crucible going on or something. Shit. Like the first day, some homeless dude cleans himself up and brushes off his shoulders and finds a job, then train the whole train system, and people don't want to go to work. They all got a sick day. They all got a sick day, and they got new science laws why they can find fortitude and redeemable characteristics and the true version of compassion. So they're saying that they're mindful and but they're still running up to you like, here's your mask. I think you guys are having a cortisol spike. I think some witches conjured and tried to trap energy and bind it from the universe, and they got an inferior technology, and they're still working with their thermodynamic aeronautics and trying to tie people up in knots. That's what you could call it, a coven. Doesn't mean that there's gonna be not males there acting like bitches. It's probably gonna be a lot of men in a coven acting like bitches with their sorority, sisterhood, fraternity. Instead of fraternity, they have to have an underground, like they have to keep them in the basement, you know, and then act like you're vying in a sense that it's you fall in succession or something, like your pedigree and all this. Their pedigree is like being Mr. Burns. I don't see them showing off their physique and, you know, like as an example of the living God for all men and making bitches wet. You know what I mean? They're more like nipple softener. If you notice, then they gotta come at legalese. They gotta come at the English language and try to destroy it from every angle in legalese. And they go at the conjectures. You wouldn't even know which words that they were trying to subvert. It's those ones that are like, if, is, you know, like those words that is a pivot where you're trying to focus in on what's the agenda. Why you can't see the agenda? Is it because you're part of a non-privy class of society? A serfdom, a sophisticated conservatorship, serfdom, whatever class in a technocracy, in a total totalitarian Tate with temerity and the technocracy some totalitarian Tatum. You Tatum. When you stand and deliver, use Tatum. Tatum, have an Uncle Tate. He's revered for his storytelling. When everybody seen Uncle Tate, they would all rush and they would all gather around Uncle Tate for some of his stories. You know, because why would you want to listen? It's like somebody might not even be a very good orator, but you know that it's like they have a methodology or an approach, you know, where everybody's talking about science. When you actually see a motherfucker with a scientific approach, you would never know he's there. If you want to argue the laws of Ma'at, you might not even notice her standing right in front of you. You should be standing right in front of you. Because every organism is is on the whole planet is trying to come into balance and harmony with Ma'at. This and if you want to talk about a better technology, seed technology taking off, rocket propulsion is aerodynamics, aeronautic thermodynamics, whatever. But this is flying too. Like you would already be flying. And maybe we can't understand is how they can go back and redeem like a redeemer, you know? Like the Christ energy is a mighty redeemer. But why recite the laws of Ma'at if you know she's a redeemer, if you don't know that she could be right in front of you, if at all possible, and it's something to strive for, and everything is something that's been done before, even to the extent that polarity is mortality and a necessary means to an end, is nothing new. You already know this. Then I think it's just that some sensationalism, and at the same time we're capable of generalization and summarizing of the mysteries and just laying the death at people's feet. If they don't like them, then they're not really one-dimensionally evil. So they lose their enemy, and that's their worst fear. Eventually losing their enemy. Because it was polarizing. If you want to see a 15-minute city go up, then you understand this galvanizing for polarization and the reductive reasoning that happened in the Eastern Commie Bloc slab architecture agenda that they would like to try over here, even though you know it's gonna fail. It's ready to go anyway. It was like they think they have enough to make it, you know, compelling enough, then they were gonna have all of these weekend, like you're gonna be like so tired and you're not gonna want to like go outside. You could drive so far and even your car will recognize that it's time to go charge up or something. Like you're definitely not going to cross the threshold where this car is not going to be returned and it's going to recharge. So it's going to have a update redirect protocol, backdoor technologies like it's like the hyperbole that get people to think this is a good idea or something like that. You don't really have a devil and an angel on her shoulder. It's a glamour and an illusion, like you're supposed to be centrist or something, but there's no centrist and there's no centrist agendas. This is all like saying you come together in the middle. That's Unitarian and modalistic argumentation stuff. We said we're going to try to avoid it. And then, you know, some of us are going to like it's like, you know, less willing, you know, less inclined to carry forward. You know, like it might be more interesting time and energy saving to be unprincipled or something like that. But you don't even know how much energy you can get from reputation, from regional, like nearby provinces, and they hear word of this something. It's like it travels. You know what I'm saying? It's not what you do. It's not what I'm just one guy. Like what can like I don't really do. It's just the best laid plans of my cement. But it's actually something else that works. So okay. One, you have a shared sense of commonality. On the other sense, there's something working that is more intricate and complex than a human brain can work it out. Subconscious. It's like when the brain goes to sleep and deprograms, then what can happen? There was this guy who was saying the other day that he can write down 3 times and 6 times and 9 times or something. Like pick something that you want to be or for your life and then just write it down as if it's already the case or something. You have to write it down like 3. I don't know how that breaks down. He said something about the 369 and the Tesla and stuff. So he probably got me onto this. probably coming out of this wavelength, this still operating wavelength that the stream of consciousness hasn't figured out how to break it yet. But it always does. You can even rebuild it. So you have to rebuild it before you can go back on it. But you know, yet the stream of consciousness is going to find a way to break it again. Just going back into duality, like it's inviting or something. It's inviting. Duality is inviting, and you can never escape it until the final revelation.